The government said they're going to build 1.5 million homes in 5 years. I have spent the last 2 weeks reading all of the reports that I can find to see if they can. And not to spoil the whole video, but they can't. And the reason they can't is the single biggest reason why you should be investing in property today. So if you're one of the millions of people that are sitting on their hands right now, sitting on some savings, sitting on some equity in their house and wondering, should I invest in property? Should I wait for the impending crash? Should I wait for rates to drop? I'm here to tell you not to. We are going to look at what the government have promised from a house building perspective, what they are actually delivering, and the 3 biggest reasons why they will never bridge the gap. I have been doing property for a decent amount of time, around 10 years, or I've been involved in well over £10 million worth of property deals. And the supply and demand gap is getting bigger and wider, and I'm here to tell you exactly why that is the case. I know there's lots of people that have this belief that because the government have promised 1.5 million homes in the next 5 years, that house prices are eventually going to crash or certainly flatline because there's lots more supply coming to the market. So they'll sit there and think, I'm going to wait. And I suppose we can talk about house building today, and we can talk about the Iran war another day, and we can talk about interest rates another day, and fundamentally people always want to find a reason to wait. But I'm here to say, if you sit and wait for these houses to be built, and we go, oh, we'll wait for 5 years when the government will have 1.5 million extra homes into the market, I'll sit and wait for then, you are losing out on 5 years of capital growth, you are losing out on 5 years of rent, you are losing out on potentially tens of thousands of pounds of profit that you can make from property by waiting for the next thing to happen, which is a false promise anyway from the government. It's likely if you started today, instead of sitting and waiting for the next 5 years, you could be on house number 2 or 3, which is likely to bring you 6 figures of profit. Okay, so the 7-year slump, why we are in the position that we are. Between 2024 and 2025, England delivered 208,000 new homes. That is the lowest since 2017. If you strip out the pandemic, England have never ever delivered 300,000 homes a year, ever. That's not under the Labour government, that's not under the Conservative government, that is just never in the history of house building. If you look at this chart, you can see the 7-year slump and the trajectory that we're going on. We are going backwards. We peaked at building 248,000 homes in 2019, and then since then we've had a slow and steady decline in house building numbers. And on top of that, the new build start indicator, which is a perfect indicator to know how many houses we'll have completed in 18 months' time, that collapsed 28% last year. The final quarter in 2023 was the lowest quarterly start figures for house building since 1978. That is a long time ago. So the political line, as always, is 1.5 million. The data line, which is the one that we should really be focusing on, is going in the opposite direction and at a rate of knots. But honestly, the data figures that we can show are nothing. I'm sure somebody in the government, if they actually saw this video, would say, nah, you're wrong, we're going to turn this around, we've got this sort of big plan. But the next part of the video is probably why we'll never ever make that up. Local government figures show that there are 1.1 million homes that have planning permission approved. So, whilst I disagree slightly that the planning is never an issue, I think planning is a bottleneck, but that's a different point for later in the video. But certainly for now, you would say 1.1 million homes can get built because they have planning on them today. But that isn't the main issue, because on top of that, the House Builders Federation say there are 174,000 units that are part built but not getting finished, and probably never will. Imagine if our workforce jumped on those, that'd be half of the 300,000 a year that we need to deliver, and they're already part built, so there's probably not loads left to do on them. There are 160,000 homes that have been blocked to be built by something called nutrient neutrality, which is a rule that has been brought in where you can't build too many homes, or you can't build homes near rivers because of the nitrogen runoff and the damage to the environment. That severely affects 4 local authorities, predominantly in the southwest. The government threw £47 million at that to try and fix this issue and have got nowhere with it. And on top of the figures I've just mentioned where we have planning permission and some have been started, 80% of developers say that actually planning permission and getting planning permission and the local planning authority in each individual area is the biggest constraint to getting good sites built, because that's also the big problem, is getting good houses built in areas that we can build on. 80% of developers are saying that the planning constraints are a bigger issue ahead of land prices, ahead of materials, and ahead of labour. So let's just summarise where we are. We've got 1 million-ish sites that have planning on them, but no one wants to build on them. We have 100,000 sites that have started and not finished, presumably because of money issues. And we have 160,000 sites that can't be built because of environmental issues. According to the Royal Town Planning Institute, we have 880 local planning authority planning officer roles vacant right now, which obviously is causing a massive issue with planning and getting planning through for sites that builders want to build on. But even if they fix all of that, there are still issues, which meant that even if all of the planning issues and all of those sites became available and financially viable, there are still issues that we cannot fix tomorrow. And can I just say, before I go into why those issues might be, if you're interested in starting property and you want some help and advice, I'm hoping these YouTube videos are really helpful. Click on like and subscribe. It will help me up the quality and up the volume that comes out. This is the workforce chart. Look at the top bar. The House Builders Federation have said that if we wanted to hit the target of 300,000 new homes per year, we would need approximately 900,000 extra construction recruits. And that is out of a UK construction workforce that is at its lowest in 25 years and continues to decline. Capital Economics did a similar study from the other side, looking at it from a different angle, and they estimate that we need an extra 500,000. So if you took a fairly decent average out of those two numbers, we need a lot of construction workers. And even CITB, which is a government training board, estimates that we need 290,000 extra construction workers to even maintain the numbers we are achieving now, which is way off what we need nationally. And of course, where are these construction workers going to come from? The average bricklayer is 52 years old, so that number surprised me. And I reckon they're pretty weathered, because that is not an easy job to do. 30% of those are going to retire in the next 10 years if they can. And the bricklaying force is the lowest it's been since 1998. The government have announced a £600 million fund to increase apprenticeships by 2029. But it's still a drop in the ocean considering the 200,000 shortfall that CITB have already mentioned. Every independent forecaster has done the maths. They've done the maths from their own angles and they've done their maths from their own viewpoints. Most are saying we are going to miss all of the targets by a long, long way. Full fact is that we could probably miss the target by about 800,000 homes, so probably about half of what the government have offered and pledged. That is a phenomenal miscalculation. Now, let's zoom out and see what that actually means for you. Because it doesn't take a genius to understand this. If we don't have enough supply and we have too much demand, which has been the housing market for a lot of years, it tends to be in the right areas where prices go up and rents go up. For me, it's still a phenomenal time to get into property investment. I mentioned in a recent video in some of the key areas where I would look to invest. Savills have just updated their forecast. They expect a 22% house price growth by 2029. That's quite a short period for a fairly chunky growth. Knight Frank are saying 15 to 18% in the same time frame. ONS data from January has suggested that the average rent has gone up by 3.5% year on year. But in the places like the Northeast and other places that I've mentioned to invest, we are seeing rents rise as much as 8 or 9% per annum. So the person that's waiting for the crash and waiting for things to go badly is waiting for something that the numbers are telling us isn't going to happen. So what do we do with all this? Because I don't want to give you all this data and give you nothing to do with it. So pick one city, go back and watch the 5 best places to invest, and watch that video again and pick one of those cities to start investing in. Just one of them. You don't need to spread your bets and invest on any more than one city. And you don't even have to live there. You have to just have an understanding about the area and want to invest in that area. Don't try and go time the market. Never, ever try and time the market. It is time in the market, not time in the market. A quote from the great Warren Buffett. The best time to have started investing in property was around 20 years ago. The second best time is today. It's a bit of a cliche saying. However, it continues to be true and time continues to pass and it continues to show that getting started investing as soon as possible is the best time to start investing. So even to this week and this month, start running the deal, start running the numbers, start working out where you could potentially invest, build the skill. Start building that practice of spending some time looking at property deals. And if you need a little help, there is a link in the bio below, where you can click and get my free guide on where to start and start investing in your buy-to-let. It'll give you some key KPIs and some key metrics to start looking at and what we look at to invest in property. The link is below and I think it is super helpful. So probably at the beginning of this video, you might have thought, or you might not have done, but you might have thought, yes, I'll believe the government. We are going to build 1.5 million homes and it's going to start going towards sorting the housing crisis that we have. But hopefully by listening to the data and seeing what I have mentioned to you, that is not going to happen. We are going to fall short by a good 800,000 homes, potentially more, as this continues to get worse and worse. As that gap widens with supply and demand, it will continue to put pressure upwardly on rents and house prices. And the right move for you right now is to stop waiting. My final parting statement would be, do not miss the boat. It is a perfect time to start investing in property. And if you want some help to get started, click on the link in the bio, book a call with our team, and we could help you get started investing in property today.